Hi, everybody. I wanted to give you a tour of the monuments and some other famous attractions that are in Washington, D.C. So, when we talked about the National Mall, we talked about the fact that it was split into two different sections, really. So, this side over here was museums, and then over here on the left side is the memorials. So, many of the memorials and things we're going to talk about are happen to be over here in the mall, but some of them aren't. So this is a different view or different type of map where it kind of has a little bit of some 3D pop-ups of some of the things that we're going to talk about. So a lot of the things that are on here are things that we're going to talk about. This is just another map just to kind of show you kind of the lay of the land here, just to give you sort of an idea of where everything is. This right here is the Washington Monument. This is the White House over here. This is the Lincoln Memorial. Here's the Jefferson Memorial, the Capitol buildings over here, and then we've got the museum. So just sort of to give you an idea of where everything is. So, and just a couple more maps of DC just to sort of give you an idea of where everything is here in DC. So, on to the monuments. This first one is the DC War Memorial. So the DC War Memorial is dedicated to the people, the men and women that lived in District Columbia that gave their lives in war. So it's a way to honor those that gave their life in World War. So it's a beautiful place. It's right off the mall. If you're not looking for it, you kind of miss it. It has these beautiful columns that are they're called Doric columns. So it's meant to look kind of like an old Greek structure. So this is the DC War Memorial. This is an interesting memorial. This is the Declaration of Independence Memorial, and I've actually never been to this one, but it looks spectacular. If you look at this curved shape here, each one of these stones has the name and signature of a signer of the Declaration of Independence. So this is kind of what it looks like, just to kind of give you an idea. So it tells it gives the signature up here, and it tells information about them. And so this is there are 56 signers of the Constitution. So there are 56 stones here to honor those 56 people that signed the Declaration of Independence. So it's a beautiful, you can see it's a beautiful site right by the water. So that is the Declaration of Independence Memorial. This is a really interesting one. This is called the FDR Memorial, FDR meaning Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he was he's the only president that was elected to 4 terms. So there's some symbolism in this memorial. So there are actually 4 rooms in this memorial. Let me kind of show you here. You can see it's kind of segmented out. So there are actually 4, they call them rooms. It's not actually a building, but there are 4 rooms. So in the first room, there is a statue of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And that is, a tribute to him, and you can see him in his wheelchair. He was not one to, he didn't show himself in his wheelchair very frequently, but that's a sculpture of him in his wheelchair. Also in room 2, the Great Depression happened during FDR's presidency. So there are some people here waiting in line for to symbolize all the hardships that people went through in the Great Depression. People often had to wait in line for food or for jobs and things like that. So that is supposed to symbolize the Great Depression. In room 3, there is a statue of FDR and also his dog. His dog's name is Fala, F-A-L-A. So not many dogs are in a national monument, or memorial. So Fala is one lucky dog there. And then there's also in room 4, there's also a statue of FDR's wife, Eleanor. And there's also, if we flip back just a little bit, there's also in this room right here, you can see this beautiful waterfall structure as well. So that's sort of kind of when you come through, you walk through the memorial this way and then end up coming back through there. So they do call them rooms, but there's not actually a building there. There are just walls that go around. So there's not a roof. And it opened in 1997. This is the Korean War Memorial, and this is an aerial view of it. It has a lot of different elements to it. It's actually a really fascinating memorial. It's right off of the mall. And it has a couple of interesting pieces to it. One, there's a wall of this shiny kind of black granite, and they have carvings of people here on the wall. And then in the center of it, there is this kind of, and let's go back to this picture, there's this triangular piece here, and that's where these statues are in this picture right here. So these statues, there are 19 statues. It shows 19 soldiers. They are 7 feet tall, and they're made of stainless steel. They're members of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. They're all represented in their gear that they would normally have during this war. So, and the bushes that are here are meant to recreate the terrain or the land in Korea. So this is to commemorate all those that died during the Korean War. The Lincoln Memorial. So the Lincoln Memorial is located on the mall. It's right at the end of the mall. There's a lot of symbolism here in the Lincoln Memorial. So first of all, it's on the back of the $5 bill. Pretty cool. And you'll actually see the picture on the back of the dollar bill. It's also on the back of the penny. But there are 36 columns that go around the Lincoln Memorial, and the 36 columns represent the 36 states that were part of the United States when Lincoln was killed. He was killed on April 14th, 1865, and it was right as the Civil War was ending. He was assassinated. And there are there are 2 different chambers. There's the North and the South chamber here. And then in the center of it, you have this statue of President Lincoln sitting in a chair. Throughout the memorial and the inside, there are a couple of different, there's some quotes. There's a quote above him, and then there are some, they're called inscriptions. They're carvings on the wall. On one side, it is the Gettysburg Address, and the other side is Lincoln's second inaugural address. So that means that it's the speech that he gave the second time that he was elected to be president. So those are the things on the wall. Another really famous thing that happened here at the Lincoln Memorial was on August 28th in 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech when he led the March on Washington. So his march ended here at the Lincoln Memorial, and this was the very spot where he gave his iconic I Have a Dream speech. So that is the Lincoln Memorial. This is the Law Enforcement Memorial, and this is not located on the mall. It's still in downtown DC, but it is not on the mall. This is a memorial that commemorates those that law enforcement officers that have lost their lives in duty, like while they were on duty. So there are a couple of different pieces to this. If we look over here, it has a you can kind of see through here. There is kind of not an archway, but a pathway here, and there are names of officers that have died in service here carved on those walls. They have some sculptures here. There's a lion protecting their cub, and another lion here, and then there's also a seal in the memorial, just commemorating that it is that's the Law Enforcement Memorial. The MLK Memorial. So this is right off the mall. And it was dedicated in 2011, and it is the 4th memorial on the National Mall area dedicated to a non-president, and it is 30 feet tall, and it's amazing. It's absolutely, it's huge and it's beautiful. And you can see, just to give you an idea of, there are two humans standing here next to the memorial, and look how big it is. It's gigantic. It has a large wall that has 14 of his quotes inscripted on it. And it's beautiful. The kind of rock that it's made of is pink Chinese granite. And it's absolutely breathtaking. So you can see that there's the statue here of Dr. King, and then in the background there are these other pieces, and it's really hard to see in this picture. Oh, here, this other picture. You can see these the other ones in the background. So this is what the MLK Memorial looks like. It's absolutely beautiful. This is the Taft Memorial, and the Taft Memorial is a tower, and it also has a bronze statue of Senator Taft. The tower is 100 feet tall, and it has bells on the top, and you can hear them from probably not all across Washington, D.C., but you can hear it from pretty far away. On the 4th of July, interesting fact, the bells ring out the Star-Spangled Banner on the 4th of July at 2 o'clock from this tower. So that is the Taft Memorial. The Thomas Jefferson Memorial. This is beautiful. It's not actually right on the mall. It's off of what they call the tidal pool, or the tidal basin, I'm sorry. So kind of an interesting thing about the Washington Monument. This was the area, remember, if you listen to the history video, they ended up dredging out part of the Potomac River and building up some of the land. This area where the Jefferson Monument is part of that area. So they've actually had a little bit of trouble with the land over the course of time, and they've fixed everything, but because it was that newer land, it was a little tricky for them with all sorts of different, just technical stuff. It has a 19-foot bronze statue of Thomas Jefferson in here, but for a while it was made of plaster, because when this memorial was finished, it was during World War II, and they actually had a ration on metal at that point, because the metal was being used to make things for the war, for like tanks and things like that. So they had a ration for the metal, so they ended up having to make it out of plaster for a time until they lifted the ration, and then they were able to make the statue out of bronze. So it's beautiful. It's right on this tidal basin. Kind of an interesting fact about this. So this monument is it's right in line. If you look out, you can actually, if you would be able to, it faces the direction of the White House. So there was a thought that Thomas Jefferson is looking out of his monument toward the White House. However, it's interesting because it's just a little bit off, and it's actually pointed towards the Treasury Department, and in front of that is a statue of Alexander Hamilton. And Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson were not friendly. They were rivals, and so he is looking at Alexander Hamilton, actually, instead of the White House. And now the Hamilton statue was built first before this monument, so just by happenstance, Alexander Hamilton's statue is actually facing the same direction as the Jefferson Monument too. So kind of an interesting fact there about just which way those statues are facing. The Navy Memorial. This is actually it's really cool looking. It has this big map of the world on it. It is not on the mall, but you can see that this is the monument right here, the Memorial Plaza. So it has a huge granite, oh goodness. Beautiful plaza. It has it's 100 feet in diameter, this map of the world, and they have fountains and little pools there. They also have flags and historical panels that go all around here that talk about the achievements of the Navy, the Marines, the Coast Guard, and the Merchant Marines. So it's a really cool plaza with this beautiful map on it. So that is the Navy Memorial Plaza. One of my favorite memorials is the World War II Memorial. It's in the mall. However, it has a bit of a low profile so that it didn't obstruct the view from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. But it's absolutely gorgeous. You can see here that it has these pillars around the outside. It also has these two tall towers. And we're going to get a little closer here in just a second. It's divided into two sides. You've got the north and the south side of this. And the north side and the south side are supposed to represent the Atlantic and Pacific fronts of World War II. Because the World War II, the war was fought not only in Europe but also in the Pacific. So those two towers are supposed to represent that. You'll also find quotes from presidents and generals around the memorial, and there are also these within the towers. There are 4 bald eagles, each holding a garland or a laurel wreath in their mouths. So this is a little bit of a zoom in on it. There are towers all around here. It has the names of each state on it. And just to represent all the people that did die in World War II. In the center, there's this big pool with lots of fountains. These are the bald eagles that I was talking about in the towers. And then you can see here the state. Each state has one. This one happens to be Wisconsin. And then they have all these stars here, which there are 4,048 gold stars and that's to commemorate all the people that died in the war. No, it was not. That was not the number of Americans that died in World War II. The sacrifice was about 400,000 Americans that made the ultimate sacrifice for the United States in World War II. So no, that doesn't. It's not a 1-for-1 with the stars, but it is. It's a pretty powerful message. The whole thing is beautiful. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial. This is a beautiful memorial. It's very sad, but it's beautiful. It was actually designed through a nationwide competition. So kind of like the first, not technically reality show, but this was designed through a worldwide competition or nationwide competition, and people submitted all their designs. And a young lady who was a Yale architect, she was actually, I believe, from Ohio, and she was the one that was chosen. There were about 1,400 submissions and ideas about this memorial, and hers was the one that was chosen. So it has a couple of parts to it. The newest piece is the Women's Memorial, and so Mylan did not design that. So there are a couple of statues that she did not design. Her design was the wall. The size of it is it's 2 acres long, or 2 acres wide, the whole memorial. There is also a statue of 3 soldiers, and the monument is, and if you can kind of see here, all of these are names of people that died in the Vietnam War. There are 58,000 names on here, and they're listed chronologically, not alphabetically. So you would start at the beginning and go through that way, and then eventually, you'd get towards the end of the war. Basically, it has everybody that was killed and or missing in action during the war. It's also made of this reflective granite, so you can see, if you're looking at it, you can actually see in this picture, you can see a reflection almost of yourself in the memorial. So that was also part of Maya Lin's design. So that is the Vietnam Memorial. This is the end of part one of the memorials and attractions, because it's getting long. It's already at 20 minutes, so I didn't want to make a really, really long video. So I'm going to cut this in half, and the next video that I'm going to make is about the other attractions. So if you want to check out things like the White House or some of the other, the Capitol building and the Washington Monument and things like that, check out part two of this, and I will see you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.